Hello, my friend. Let the worries of today melt away like dew dissolving under the morning sun. Tonight, we embark on a journey together, a story woven from notes of music, tears of longing, and a love that transcends the boundaries of life and death. Picture yourself by a shimmering river, beneath a sky scattered with stars, where the moonlight gently illuminates your dreams. This is a tale of a father, a son, and the melodies that bound them together, through pain, through strange and wondrous worlds, and through the eternal power of the heart. Find a cozy corner, let your eyelids grow heavy, and allow me to guide you to Nashville, where music is the breath of life, and love is a light that never fades. Together we will wander, we will weep, and we will heal, starting now. In the heart of Nashville, Tennessee, where the air hums with the echoes of country melodies and the streets pulse with the rhythm of life, there is a man named Daniel Harper. He is 40 years old. Daniel was a shadow of the man he once was, a celebrated music professor at the Blair School of Music at Vanderbilt University, known for his lectures on classical composition and his ability to inspire young musicians. But now he was a street performer, a wanderer with a weathered guitar, singing for pennies under the neon glow of Broadway Street. His life had unraveled, thread by thread, after a series of tragedies that left him broken, searching for a piece of his soul he feared he'd never reclaim. Daniel had once been a devoted husband to his wife, Eliza, a painter whose laughter could brighten the darkest days. They dreamed of a family, and when their son Ethan was born, their world seemed complete. But fate was cruel. Eliza passed away during childbirth, leaving Daniel a single father at 26, cradling a newborn boy in his trembling arms. He poured his love into Ethan, raising him alone in their small Nashville apartment, but the demands of his career at Blair often kept him away. As a professor, Daniel was a star. His lectures were packed, his compositions performed by orchestras, but his success came at a cost. He had little time for Ethan, and though he loved his son fiercely, he made a choice that would haunt him forever. Ethan, from a young age, had a gift for music, a natural talent that shone through his tiny fingers as he strummed a guitar Daniel had bought him as a toy. By age 7, Ethan could play melodies that brought tears to Daniel's eyes, but Daniel, shaped by his own rigorous classical training, forbade Ethan from pursuing music. "It's a hard life, Ethan," he'd say, his voice stern but trembling with fear. "I don't want you to struggle like I did. You'll study something stable, maybe law or medicine." Ethan's face would fall, his dreams of music silenced by his father's words, and a quiet rift grew between them. Daniel thought he was protecting his son, but he was breaking his spirit. The day of Ethan's 14th birthday was one Daniel would never forgive himself for. It was a chilly October evening in Nashville, the leaves turning golden under a gray sky. Daniel had promised to be home early to celebrate with Ethan and give him a gift, a new sketchbook, knowing Ethan had inherited his mother's love for drawing. Ethan, however, had a surprise of his own. He'd spent weeks writing a song on his guitar, a melody he called Whispers of the Wind, hoping it would change his father's mind about music. He set up their small living room with candles and a little cake, waiting eagerly for Daniel to walk through the door. But Daniel's class ran late. A student needed extra guidance, and then another professor asked for his input on a project. Hours slipped away and Daniel forgot his promise. Ethan waited, the candles burning low, the cake untouched. By 8 p.m., with no sign of his father, Ethan's hope turned to despair. He grabbed his guitar, slung it over his shoulder, and hopped on his bike, pedaling through the streets of Nashville to find his dad. The sky darkened and rain began to fall, heavy and relentless. The roads grew slick, and in a tragic twist of fate, a car skidded around a corner, unable to stop in time. Ethan was gone in an instant, his guitar shattered beside him, his song forever unsung. When Daniel learned of the accident, his world collapsed. He rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. Holding Ethan's broken guitar, he wept, the weight of his guilt crushing him. He'd failed his son, failed to be there, failed to listen, failed to let Ethan be who he was meant to be. In the days that followed, Daniel resigned from Blair School of Music, unable to face the halls where he'd once thrived. He sold their apartment, gave away his possessions, and took to the streets, a guitar on his back, singing songs of sorrow to strangers who rarely stopped to listen. He became a wanderer, searching for Ethan in every note, every melody, hoping somehow his music could bridge the gap between them. Years passed, and Daniel's life became a cycle of grief and survival. On a snowy December night in 2025, as Nashville's streets glittered with holiday lights, Daniel sat on a corner near the Ryman Auditorium, his fingers numb from the cold. He played song after song, his voice raw with emotion, but the passers-by hurried past, their laughter a stark contrast to his loneliness. By midnight, his tin cup held only a few coins. Defeated, he packed up his guitar and began the long walk to the abandoned lot where he slept. The snow fell harder, the wind biting at his thin coat, and suddenly, a wave of dizziness overtook him. His vision blurred, his body trembled, and a sharp pain seared through his chest. He collapsed into the snow, the world fading to black as his guitar slipped from his hands. In that moment, Daniel felt himself falling, not into death, but into a strange, otherworldly realm. He awoke in a place shrouded in mist, the air thick with a greenish-black hue. The ground beneath him was cold, like polished stone, and the sky above swirled with eerie, glowing clouds. Strange figures moved around him. People, or what seemed like people, their forms translucent, their voices a soft hum. Daniel stumbled to his feet, his heart racing, and followed the figures, who walked in a silent procession through a landscape of twisted trees and shimmering rivers that glowed like liquid emerald. This was the realm of the afterlife, a world where souls lingered, bound by unfinished dreams. For weeks, Daniel struggled to accept his new reality. He learned that he had suffered a stroke and was caught between life and death, his body in a coma back in the mortal world, but his soul here in this shadowy realm. The other spirits spoke of their lives, their regrets, and Daniel realized that this place held the souls of those who had passed. Yet he felt out of place, a living man among the dead. He wandered, searching for meaning, until one day he heard a familiar sound, the strum of a guitar, a melody that echoed whispers of the wind. Following the music, Daniel found himself in a clearing where spirits gathered around a young boy, no older than 14, playing a guitar that shimmered with a ghostly light. It was Ethan, his eyes bright with the joy Daniel had stolen from him in life. The spirits adored Ethan, calling him the Star of the Vale, his music a beacon of hope in this dark realm. But when Ethan saw Daniel, his face hardened, his eyes flashing with anger. "You're not my father," he said coldly, turning away. "My father didn't care about my music. He didn't care about me." Daniel's heart shattered, but he refused to give up. He stayed near Ethan, watching from a distance as the boy played for the spirits, his songs filling the air with light. Daniel began to play too, softly at first, melodies that echoed Ethan's, hoping to reach him. One evening, as Ethan played a haunting ballad, Daniel joined in, his guitar harmonizing with his son's. Ethan paused, his fingers still on the strings, and for the first time he looked at Daniel without anger. "That was beautiful," Ethan whispered. "Why didn't you let me play like that when I was alive?" Tears streamed down Daniel's face as he knelt before his son. "I was wrong, Ethan," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought I was protecting you, but I was afraid you'd struggle, afraid I'd lose you. I see now that music was your soul and I took that from you. I'm so sorry." Ethan's expression softened, and after a long silence he reached out, his small hand touching Daniel's. "I missed you, Dad," he said, and they embraced, the weight of years melting away in that moment. From that day, Daniel became Ethan's biggest supporter in the afterlife. He encouraged Ethan to play, to create, and together they wrote music that resonated through the realm. They composed a piece called Echoes of the Heart, a song that blended Daniel's classical roots with Ethan's raw, emotional style. The spirits gathered to hear them perform, their voices and guitars weaving a tapestry of light that illuminated the dark landscape. Ethan and Daniel became the stars of the Vale, their music a symbol of redemption and love, a father and son reunited through the language they both understood. One evening, Ethan took Daniel's hand and led him through a forest of glowing trees to a lake that shimmered like a mirror. "There's someone you need to see," Ethan said, his voice soft. From the mist emerged a figure, a young woman no older than 25, her hair golden and her eyes the same shade of green as Ethan's. It was Eliza, radiant and unchanged by time. Daniel fell to his knees, overwhelmed, as Eliza smiled and touched his face. "I've been watching you both," she said, her voice like a melody. "I'm so proud of you, Daniel, for finding our boy, for letting him shine." They sat by the lake, the three of them, sharing stories of the life they'd lost and the love that had never faded. Daniel told Eliza about his years of wandering, his guilt, and his music, while Eliza spoke of the peace she'd found in the afterlife, painting the skies with colors only spirits could see. Ethan played his guitar, a soft lullaby that brought them all to tears, and for the first time in decades, Daniel felt whole. They were a family again, if only for a moment. But the peace couldn't last. The spirits of the vale were called to a gathering where a shadowy figure, the keeper of souls, announced that those who had fulfilled their heart's desire could ascend to be reborn into new lives. Ethan and Eliza's names were called, but Daniel's was not. The keeper's voice echoed, "Daniel Harper, you are not of this realm. Your body yet lives, and you must return." Daniel's heart broke as he realized what this meant. He would lose them again. He clung to Ethan and Eliza, tears streaming down his face as they held him tightly. "I love you both so much," Daniel sobbed. "I'm so sorry for everything I didn't do, for the time I didn't give you." Eliza kissed his forehead, her touch warm despite the cold of the veil. "You gave us this moment, Daniel," she said. "You gave Ethan his music, and you gave me my family. We'll carry that love into our next lives." Ethan hugged his father, his small arms strong. "I forgive you, Dad," he whispered. "Keep playing for me, okay? I'll hear you wherever I am." With one final embrace, they stepped into the light, their forms dissolving into a cascade of stars, leaving Daniel alone in the darkness. Daniel awoke in a hospital bed in Nashville, the beep of machines pulling him back to reality. He'd been in a coma for weeks, his stroke nearly fatal, but he'd been saved. Tears fell as he remembered Ethan and Eliza, their voices echoing in his mind. When he recovered, he returned to Blair School of Music, taking up his old position, but he was a changed man. Every month, he wrote a new song for Ethan, placing the sheet music in a small box near his son's grave in a quiet Nashville cemetery. He'd sit by the grave, playing his guitar, the notes blending with the rustling wind as if Ethan were playing along. Years passed, and Daniel grew old, his hair turning silver, his hands trembling but never losing their skill. At 80, he moved into a nursing home in Nashville, his guitar still his constant companion. One crisp autumn afternoon, as he sat by a window playing a gentle melody, a young woman and a small boy walked by. The boy, no older than 5, stopped, his eyes wide as he listened to Daniel's music. He smiled, a smile so familiar it took Daniel's breath away. In that moment, Daniel knew it was Ethan reborn, his soul still drawn to the music they'd shared. As the last leaf fell from the tree outside, Daniel played his final note, a soft, clear strum that seemed to echo beyond the room. His eyes closed, a smile on his lips, and he slipped away, his heart at peace. Somewhere in another world, Ethan and Eliza were waiting, their hands outstretched, ready to welcome him home. Now that the story has gently come to a close, can you feel your heart a little lighter, your soul a little freer? Let the gentle sound of rain at your window cradle you softly, carrying you into a dream-woven sleep.